Hello, and welcome to another episode of Art in Conversation as part of Nova series. Our today artist and Nova's member is Samar Hussaini. She's also the head of exhibition committee, I guess, Samar, and she's a talented artist, which is I love her work and her beautiful design and embroidery and everything she does. Samar, welcome to our conversation.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here and be able to talk with you and share all of my art.
Thank you. I was chasing you forever to get you to have this conversation, actually. I'm so
It's nice
glad
to
we can.
finally, yeah, it's nice
Yeah,
to
I'm glad
finally
we
get
could.
together and talk.
Yeah. Yeah, we always see just, passing
Mm.
quickly. All right, so as we always do, would be good if you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you become artist, what you're doing overall, and then after that we can start our conversation.
So my name is Samar Hussaini, and I am Palestinian American. I was born here in the United States, but both of my parents were born in Palestine. They are both were born in Jerusalem,
Mm.
and so I have
Olive
a
City. Yeah.
yes. So I have a very strong connection to my heritage and my culture. And so I really have always, since I was young, because I used to travel to Jerusalem and the West Bank every summer. So my grandparents were there, and I have cousins and uncles. And so I was really able to have that connection to the heritage and the culture in a very positive way. And now as an adult, I use art to really pass on those traditions and to share all of that beautiful culture with people all over. And also really to show how proud we are of our heritage, really passing it on to my children and making those connections really to people all over the world.
Yeah, to people knows,
Mhm.
besides just the name of Jerusalem in Palestine.
Yes,
Knows
yes.
their culture and their identity and their beautiful work, how they incorporate all those symbols, all the culture and history into how they visualize, I should say, their culture and history, which is very important, because sometimes image can say thousand word that the word can, so that's the whole idea of visual art and
Mhm.
which you're doing. I have a short video we can play, but before that, would you explain what type of art you're doing
Sure.
or
So
what type of art you identify with?
my art is mainly mixed media and abstract expression. So I use acrylic and I use ink and charcoal and graphite and thread. And then I really try to push past the idea of it being a traditional abstract painting and make it more innovative. So I use things like organic embroidery, which is a sewing machine technique. And then I also do a lot of sculptural dresses that are three-dimensional. A lot of people, when they see them, they think that you can actually wear them, but they're actual canvas.
Uh,
So I paint the canvas and then cut them up, and really they're meant to be sculptural dresses. So it's really pushing the idea of what the traditional idea of art hanging on a wall can be. And then I also take the artwork and I put them onto bags and dresses. So then it really even pushes the idea of fine art past just seeing it in a museum or in your home. And really, what does that mean when you're wearing a piece of art outside for everyone to see? So it's
yeah, I saw in your website you have a part that shows the um, the bag and dresses. So those are wearable, right? It's not
Yes,
only
yes,
okay.
those pieces are wearable. And, I mean, my background is art, studio art and art history. And then I did my master's in communication design at Pratt. So I worked in advertising for about 15 years, 20 years. And so I did a lot of branding and a lot of, designing. And so beyond also my art, I love making these pieces and the idea of branding your work past just a piece of art that you hang on a wall. So you'll see I've tried to create sort of these dresses and clutches
Yeah.
and bags, and they really create statement pieces for people. And they're really fun to wear and to use. But it is a challenge, because as an artist, I don't want to spend my time making the products. So I really want to just spend my time creating the art. And yeah, and it's very interesting how we really tend to, be having our hands in so many different things as an artist. And I think that's it. It's important, but it's also a challenge to do
Yeah, I
that.
understand. I mean, in a sense, like you make them functional, art as for the sake of art and also art for the sake of function. So you put these two together. And I understand it's challenging to manage all these things. And plus, you are big part of NAWA, and that also keep you quite busy.
Yes, it
So,
is exciting to be able to be a part of the organization. And really, it's such an amazing sisterhood of artists who support each other. And it's my pleasure to be able to help create all of these exhibits online and in person. It's really nice. It's just a really wonderful addition to all of the other work that I have to
yeah,
do.
I understand. It's good to be part of the family. And, I myself have been part of this family for several years now. And it's a pleasure and also privilege to tell everybody, I'm part of this family of artists. And so this brings us together, and extend our family member, which is even nicer, and help us to expose ourselves, our artwork. And I guess that's a huge part of what Noah is, right? To
Exactly.
bring this group of women artists together in to talk about themselves, to expose their artwork, what they're doing, and what we do today here is part of it. All right, so
Exactly.
let's watch that video
Great.
because our time is really short, and I want to get the most of you since we don't have so much. Okay, so I play the video, and then after that, we can see some of your work
Great.
to explain it more in detail, if you okay. And this beautiful music we just came.
I don't think you can hear the sound, Farine. My abstract paintings,
No?
they're inspired by the land of Palestine and that deep bond we have with our land. It's really a connection that's shaped our traditions and way of life for generations. So, through layered mediums, I draw viewers in, highlighting the richness and resilience of our heritage, and also intertwining Palestinian designs like Tatri's embroidery. Each brushstroke symbolizes our connection, reflecting on a truly unbreakable tie to our heritage and the legacy we pass on to future generations. The Taube Dress series, it's a embodiment of our heritage that is deeply rooted in traditions and passed down through generations. These taubes are adorned with intricate Tatrice patterns and they transcend their role as garments. They're symbols of our identity, woven with memories, struggles, and triumphs of our ancestors. Each stitch tells a unique story reflecting the rich tapestry of our culture. For my paintings on canvas, I'll use acrylic paint, ink, graphite, gold leaf, image transfers, and thread to really create layers, drawing the viewer in. After I've completed painting a canvas, I'll cut the dress pattern and stitch it together using a sewing machine. So it transforms the artwork into a sculptural form. The dresses are intentionally left without a body, and they serve as really a powerful symbol of the enduring presence of those people that came before us and those that are presently with us. Displayed on the wall, the dresses, they echo the traditional way garments are honored, emphasizing their cultural significance. But as a three-dimensional sculpture, they invite viewers to engage with the artwork from all angles, creating a living piece of art that interacts with its environment. And these dual presentations really highlight the evolving nature of cultural symbols, demonstrating how they can adapt and remain relevant in today's world. They also illuminate the deep connections that continue to shape my cultural identity, bridging my past with the present. The freehand machine embroidery in my work is inspired by Chatrice motifs from dresses and pillows passed down from my grandmother and mother. So first I draw the design onto water-soluble fabric, and then using a sewing machine, I freehand stitch the design, making sure that all the threads are connected. After stitching, I soak the fabric in water, and as the fabric dissolves, it leaves only the threads. So the embroidery is then sewn into my paintings, reconnecting the work to my heritage and allowing me to adapt traditional patterns into modern contexts. Also, when I frame the pieces and the light shines on them, the shadows that the thread casts remind me really of whispers from ancestors, always present to lift me up and give me strength. This process of bridging cultural with contemporary art, symbolizing the resilience and continuity of my heritage despite forced displacement, it's a way to preserve the beauty of Palestinians while reflecting my own personal journey and artistic development as a Palestinian living in the diaspora. Even with the challenges Palestinians face, I find that their resilience shines through. And my art is a way to celebrate and preserve our culture despite all the devastation around us. So, through my art, I want to convey the importance of holding on to our cultural heritage. It's really a message of hope and endurance, showing that even in adversity, we remain steadfast in our identity.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Very nice. I want one of those dresses. I mean, this black one you wear is like so beautiful. So I want that.
Thank you.
What type of fabric you use that dissolve?
It's called water soluble fabric.
Okay.
And yeah, I think as we go through, I'll all of the slides, I'll talk a little bit more about it with you.
All
So
right.
I did want to just show you guys, I put together a series of, like you said, the most important things that I wanted to share with you. And one of the most important things is the Tatriz, which is actually part of the United Nations Cultural Agency, UNESCO. I have it on the slide there. They added the traditional Palestinian Tatriz embroidery as the intangible cultural heritage list. So just to give you an idea that this is all hand stitched cross stitching, and each of the designs that are on the dresses, or I'm wearing a scarf right now, They make pillows. They each design represents a region where the wearer comes from. So, for example, this dress was created for my mother that I was wearing, and uh, because she was born in Jerusalem, a lot of the symbols there represent Jerusalem. So, there's the cypress tree. There's the flowers that bloom around in Jerusalem, and it's very interesting because if you were to show some of these symbols that represents, like for example, the cypress trees, which is the idea of the tree of life, we're all over representing all over the Palestinians. But this specific cypress tree design, depending on where you create it, so someone in the West Bank will have a different design of the cypress tree, and they'll use different colors even in their threads, versus someone in Gaza who has in even also a different type of style, that motif that they have to represent that tree
That
or
okay.
flower, or even, in Bethlehem, they have specific designs that are based on not only Christianity, but also the stars in the sky. And so it's very interesting, and it's quite beautiful, and it's very time consuming.
Yeah, I understand.
I,
So in a sense, they're all like ID, right?
yes.
Each dress serve as an ID or identification card that when somebody wear it, I mean, people who are familiar, they can know, okay, so you are from South, you are from North, you are from these cities.
And even more, some of the women, they would make their dresses and they would add things to it. So let's say they wanted to get married. So they would wear certain, they would have certain things on their dresses that show, here I am, I'm ready to get married. Or when they were married, what they were really enjoying, what they loved to do, all the things that surrounded them. If their husband passed away and they were ready to get married again, they would also wear these certain designs so it was also a way of communicating for the women as well.
Yeah, and understand. I mean, most of like Middle East and Near East and African culture, you see they have sudden actually identification, which is they also call it to enhance their beauty, but also to be identified. And
Hmm.
we see this like source of identification either in the clothing or tattoo, scarification. Like for example, in terms of some African tribe, they use
Yes,
this to make themselves readable. And the idea of readability makes also these changes, which is each tribe or each group or each city or each region, they know about their own symbols and they can be readable and they can
yes.
identify.
And it's also really interesting because the fronts are, very beautiful, and the backs are meant to be as beautiful as the front, but they also will make mistakes intentionally on their embroidery because they don't want them to be too beautiful,
Yeah.
right? Because then you'll get some people who are jealous of the work that you're doing. So it's just so interesting.
Keep some for Abilize, right? Or to
Exactly,
part
yeah.
of the Abilize. I mean, that's I understand. I am that is very actually interesting and meaningful, right? Even the
Yes,
error has a reason for error. It's not like error made intentionally, not like, by just mistaken,
right.
mistaken.
Yes, it is very interesting. So I've started passing on the tradition to my daughter. She's 14, and they usually start the um, teaching of tatriz when kids are, 6, 7, 8, and they become very fluent in the language of the cross stitch at a very young age. And I find even with my daughter who's 14, she has already started doing her own language and representing herself using these ideas. So it's just really lovely to see in terms of passing on that heritage.
Yeah. So, and then beside that, I see that you incorporate those fiber and thread with paint, with, for example, acrylic. why you incorporate or do this mixed media.
Yeah, so a lot of the work, as I said before, is especially in the paintings, I want to show the idea of heritage and culture and the positive um, ideas behind being Palestinian. And so I take a lot of the pieces that I have from passed down from my great grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother, then to me, and I take photographs of them, and then I incorporate them into the artwork. And my most recent series of work I started doing is the idea of what is at the heart of it, right? And so for me, at the heart of it is the heritage and the culture. And so that's why I really like to incorporate the embroidery into all the different layers. And you'll see it in the images that I incorporate by transferring them onto the canvas or paper. And then you'll also see it in some of the pieces have stitches, cross stitches in there. And sometimes what I really like to do, because I feel like when you see something from far away, if you like it, you get close to it. And then you start to see all of the small details that have gone into it. So I like to add very small details of embroidery that you might not catch from far away. And it really amplifies the idea of getting a little bit closer, having conversations with people, really investing in that idea of drawing yourself in and not being afraid to do that. Because when you do, then you might find some really amazing things that really flourish from that.
I understand, right? I mean, sometimes, some artwork has, they are, in a sense, they are like ocean, you know, and they are layer and layer and layer. And you have to get, as you mentioned, you have to get close. You can see them from far. You see from far different vision. When you get closer, you see different vision. It's like illusion, right?
Yes.
2 weeks ago, I took my student to Illusion Museum. And the idea was for them to get close, right? See it from far, you see something, you get close, you see something else, and you get closer, you see something else. And so this multi-layer, which each one has a kind of a distance view to it. And you have to pass that distance in order to see those view. And I think your work are one of those kind of use this illusion idea in order to see more. You have to play with this, how to look or how far or how close to see them.
Yes, yes. And it's the same thing with like I try to say with people, like, you see someone, you think, oh, that person looks really interesting. I'd like to talk to them. I'd like to get a little bit closer and learn more about them. And that's sort of the idea here, is that you might see my paintings from far away, but really the true beauty of it is getting close to it. Uh,
Mhm.
and seeing really the details. And then from there, you start to think to yourself, oh, what are these little cross stitches? What is this? Oh, it's really the Palestinians, they make them by hand, really. Oh, each one is a place from where they come from. Oh, wow, that's such a rich, beautiful culture. It's such an
Yeah.
amazing history.
Yeah, and exactly, conversation happened, and then you explain about the symbols and meaning. I remember once I was talking to you in an exhibition, and you were telling me about all this, like, little net design and what it means and what it symbolizes and what region they explain. That's the beauty of using all this detail and symbols.
Hmm. Yeah, and this is, for example, this is the next piece, the next slide, which is the freehand embroidered um,
This one.
design. And I actually have a detail there, but I wanted to show you the process is, this
Yep.
is actually the design.
Okay.
Uh, and you can see, like, initially when you see it um, on the screen, it's hard to show it. It
Yeah.
looks flat, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually dimensional, and when you cast a shadow on it, it creates these beautiful designs from behind, right? That it's very hard. But
That's the
it's
one you sew it and then you soak it in the water to dissolve, and then that's the stays. Okay.
yeah. So this is the the fabric. This is the machine, the water soluble
Sewing.
fabric. So you can just go online and order. You can get machine water soluble fabric, and then what I do is I draw on. You can draw onto it, and then I use the sewing machine to stitch it. So you can see it's like every little stitch has to be connected because then when you actually dissolve it in the water and it becomes your design, your embroidery, if the pieces are not connected, it will fall apart.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, that's, listen, Summer, this also symbolic, right? It
Yes,
also has a meaning. It's well, because people are together are strong, right? So
yes,
the
yes,
idea of this connection and being connected to you, to your land, to your ancestor, to your identity, to your history, that itself
yes,
is meaning, right?
yes,
And it's
exactly.
actually quite interesting. When you sew it, if they are not connected, they're going to be apart. They're going
Yes,
to go,
exactly. I
right?
think it relates not just to being Palestinian, but all over the world. Relates to being like we're all connected and we're all, we should all be together thinking about how to make our world a better place, you know?
Yeah, I understand. Yes. So how you put it, are you after the process finish and it dry and everything, then you mount it over canvas again?
Yeah, so you can see on the next slide that the next piece that I have, I think it's after this one, if you want to click through.
This one.
Yep, there it is. The breathing memories one.
Okay.
That one, yeah, so what I like to do, there it is. So is this one is it was a canvas and then I painted and then I ripped it apart. And then I used the embroidery to stitch it back together. So
Mm,
I created the embroidery and then I actually physically stitched it. So you can see now how it's framed, it's floating, and it creates these beautiful shadows. And I always say, I feel like the shadows also represent something for me, which is all of my ancestors and my family lifting me up, right? It's telling another story, another narrative there. That's a positive one, bringing the idea of resilience and strength together.
mhm. And then you this canvas again goes over another canvas, right? But you don't mount it flat. You
I mount it's mounted onto a special board that then is attached to the frame.
all
So
right.
then it creates sort of like that shadow effect to it. Yeah.
These are something you have to see it in person. I mean,
Yes.
I saw your work in person and I understand when you explain it because image doesn't actually give the judge when you see it in person. So in person, you see all this beauty and what you explain and how these things came together and how much time you spend. I understand like, when you say it's time consuming, it is time consuming. I mean,
Yeah.
how long it takes, for example, to like for as example, like this one, how long it took for you
It
to.
takes a very long time. It usually takes like a day or two to do, the embroidery. It's probably a few days to do the embroidery because you can imagine you can't sit and do the stitching all in one day because it's a little bit painful on
Yeah.
your, your and your eyes. But it's a great process. So it takes probably a few weeks between making the canvas and then, obviously as an artist, you want to come up with the design idea, the motifs, everything coming together and then stitching it all together and then framing it. So it's definitely a few weeks worth of time that goes into each of these, which then someone sees it and they're like, "Oh, it looks so easy." And
Yeah.
no, it's it's a
Go
lot.
try it. Go try it if you think look easy. Yeah, I understand. I mean, listen, I used to weave carpet. I mean, that's different. I mean, it's same family, like, thread and fiber. But the carpet would take like years to finish
Mhm.
when I was younger, and that was the source of income for me and my mom. Um, so I'm familiar with these things. I used to actually embroidery. I used to, when I was in high school, actually I won prize for it and I put it aside and I forgot it completely. And so I know how long it takes. But beside that, also it's tiring, your eyes, your hand, your neck. And plus, you are a mom, you are an artist, and so many other things that responsibility aside. So it
Yes.
takes a long time. And I see it's not only embroidery. You have to dissolve it, you have to stitch it, you have to stitch it back, you have to cut it. So all
And you
those.
have to wait, right? You know, a lot of times we
Mhm.
forget that the process of actually waiting for the things to, to dry. And it's a beautiful process. It's like taking that breath of just moments where you can just calmly sit and think and contemplate as well.
Mhm.
And this piece is actually really interesting because it's based off of a embroidered Tetris design that represents the Pashtan tents, which come from the Ottoman Empire. So
Oh, mhm.
it is definitely, really I wanted to show how much Palestinians were so proud of our history, going all the way back to, but uh, the Ottoman Empire, even, where they were we create these designs to show that resilience and how we were still connected to that,
Yeah,
that prestige that goes along with aligning with Palestinians.
yeah. If you go back, you can head the Greco-Roman and Byzantine too,
Yes,
you
all the
know.
way. Yes,
And
and
if you go back, you can go even further. I mean,
yes.
I'm like, I'm teaching Middle East and Near Eastern culture, and I'm quite familiar with the history of Palestine and all overall canon and like, the area. And that's fascinating to see how all those culture, little things came together and make a signature, right?
And that's
And
the interesting thing about the embroidery is it actually predates the Canaanites, right? So it's like it's a very old process. It's a very old passed down tradition from for generations. So it's definitely we could go on and on. There's,
when you break it down, you see all this connection. That's the beauty of actually art history and symbols, to breaking down the symbols and see which part came from which part of the world, and then how this thing be stitched together or put together in order to create something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this piece is really nice too. This was part of the Venice Biennale in 2022. I was asked to be a part of a group exhibition called From Palestine with Art. And it was a meant to be part of a dress that hung from a doorway. And the name of it is called Ahlan wa Sahlan, which means welcome with open arms, right? And that's another thing that Palestinians, Arabs, Middle Easterners, that area is very well known for being very open with their arms and inviting. You don't just go to someone's house and have like one appetizer. They make a feast for you. And I wanted to create this for the Biennale to show, to really represent that culture of being open, open arms, welcoming people in, which really, honestly, it still continues to this day.
Yeah, understand. They are welcoming. They are known like Middle Eastern and Near Eastern culture for that.
Yeah.
And this is detail. And that's one of those sculpture dress you mentioned.
Which hangs, so this one, it can either hang on the wall or it can hang, you can see it three-dimensionally. And it really, when I started creating this series, I actually have there's wire on the inside of the dresses to make it look as though there's someone inside of it. And
Mhm.
it kind of gives that impression that the idea of what happens to a culture, what happens to a people when they no longer have their homeland, when they no longer, their culture still is resilient, it's strong, it's staying strong. And
Yeah.
this piece is called Legacy of Eternal Ties. It was actually in the Newark Museum of Art recently, if you are in New Jersey, I highly recommend going to this museum. It's an amazing museum. It's supposedly one of the largest museums in New Jersey, and it's quite phenomenal. And this series was there. There were two dresses, and I created them as a mother and a child. and the idea of how the mother is resilient and strong and she passes on her heritage and her culture to the child. And so it's showing that connection between the two. Um, these pieces are actually created, as I said, with canvas. They're not meant to be worn. It would be very difficult, but they're full of very rich layers of acrylic and ink, and I stitch onto it, which is, I don't know if anybody's ever stitched onto canvas that's been painted. It's very hard by hand. I also use a sewing machine too, but they're really amazing pieces to see in person as well.
Yeah, and see all those details. Thank you
Mhm.
very much, Samar. I wish we had more time to discuss more of your work, but I had the privilege to see, and I will see more of your work. And I really encourage everyone who are around here to come and see some of your work in different exhibition. But to finalize our work in our conversation, do you have any message, any, I don't know, you are known for welcoming and ahlan wa sahlan in your culture. So anything that encourage our novice member and artist and overall a message for them.
I was thinking about it, and I think one of the things that I really try to tell myself is to always continue to learn new things, because when we learn new things and try new things and always listening and watching, we are, we have a tendency to grow from those experiences. And that's why I'm always pushing myself with my art and my designs, really to challenge myself to learn new things, because I think then it becomes, it's not just the same thing. You're always aspiring to create new and innovative things that people may not have seen, and I think that's really important as an artist to do and to grow. So that's what I would say. I would really encourage people to do that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Samar. It was a really great privilege to have you in this conversation and had this opportunity to finally, after a couple of years, see more of your work and listen to your story and see more of your beautiful work in detail. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you. You are so easy and wonderful to talk to. So it is
it.
totally my pleasure. And
Thank you. Happy
I love
holiday.
to you as well. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Happy holiday to all. Thank you. Bye.